All right, we're gonna go over how to change your hub on a 2007 Toyota 4Runner. So I have this new hub assembly. Got it off of eBay. It's assembled with a factory hub and factory bearings for about $499 for the pair. So first thing you're gonna do is take your wheels off. And this circumstance, it was the 6 3/4 lug nuts. Take those off. And once you're done that, your vehicle's rested on jack stands. Jack mount up on the frame right here. And then you'll take this 12mm bolt for the brake line bracket. You can see I've already taken it off. I put the bolt back in for safekeeping. And then there's a 10mm that bolts to this bracket back here. And this one, again, I put it back into the hole for safekeeping. And there's a 12mm that holds this bracket to the spindle. Take that off, put it back so you don't lose it. And then next thing you're gonna do, there's a 17mm bolt here and another one mounts into this hole. What I do is I put the key in the ignition. That way I can turn the steering all the way that direction so I can get my impact in there, backs it off real easy. And once you have this off, you're gonna wanna hang it up. I'll hang it up and then I'll show you the process from there. So I got the one bolt off for the caliper bracket, and then I'm gonna take the second one off and just hold it. It's gonna wanna fall, okay? Maybe a little stuck, take it off. And now the whole brake assembly is still assembled, pads are still in it. And then I'm gonna find somewhere I can hook this stuff up just to have it up out of the way. All right, let's go through the middle. That way it's gonna not hang too far. So the one thing you want to do is not stretch these brake lines out too much, okay? But you can see it's not that stressed. All right, so once you're there, this rotor is free. It'll just come off. It's just a little stuck. So you can take a mallet, or what I'll do, pretty stuck. Let's see. All right. So I was just hitting the rubber mallet against this to kind of free it up. As you see, I left one lug nut on there. That way it doesn't fall off and like chop my fingers off or something. So you can just take this lug nut off, set it aside. Rotor comes off. Just gonna set it over here on this face plate. That way it doesn't mess up the surface, okay? And now we're down to the parts that we want to be at. Your hub, it's 4 17mm bolts. You got to use a 17mm wrench to get in there because there's not much space. Okay? I'll show you the process of loosening these. I'm going to go ahead and break them loose first. See, that one's loose. Loose. Okay. There's a lot of brake dust and stuff in here. It's nasty. And I like to position it where I can put my body weight on it. That helps get it off. Either being able to use your body weight pushing up, or pulling up rather, or pushing down. It's the easiest way to break these loose. And if you're not strong enough, or if they're too stuck, you can use a cheater, like a pipe, and then just wrench, break it loose. Or if it's really stuck, if you live in a rust belt, use torch, heat it up, and then try to back it out. If it's not coming out, then you're going to be in a different situation, okay? Now here's the 4 bolts I was referencing. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Shoddy camera work. And then once you've broken them loose, you just back them out by hand. And if you spin this hub in a position where these nuts don't hit it, okay, so that's loose. They're not going to come all the way out because the hub is in the way. So we have a couple different options for getting this hub broke loose. And this dust shield for the brakes is also held on by these 4 bolts. So once these 4 bolts are off, this dust shield's just going to wiggle around. There's a bolt, third bolt. And tricky, don't go. Yeah, okay, there we go. All right, so once you're there, this one's already wanting to come loose. So you can see this crack starting to form. Basically, you'll take a pry bar, put it in here if you can. Kind of hard to do with one hand. I'm gonna set the phone down and you'll get the idea. All right, looking like a super villain. Okay, so I'm gonna take this here. Now it's really breaking loose. You don't want to beat the junk out of it. You're just trying to get to where you can work this thing in there. And if that's not strong enough, take an actual chisel or punch. So the little gap I just showed you is growing on the top. So I'm going to go to the bottom. Again, it's growing on the bottom, come back to the top. The left side or rear side is pretty open. Make sure all my bolts are backed out still. Okay, now they're all completely loose. Go to this side, we haven't hit this side yet. And once you get it open enough, it's out. There's your old hub. It actually looks pretty clean. This one sounds good. My driver one was pretty worn out. It sounded like I had a whole other engine when I was driving down the road. And I think the seal had gone bad in it because this inside area, this is really clean on this one compared to the other side. So I'm not going to have to do so much work cleaning this side up. So what I'm going to do is take this wire brush. You could use a wire wheel. I don't want to get mine out. I think this will do just fine. I'm just going to clean up this mounting surface, and then I'll slide the new hub in. I'll show you. So your hub mounts right here. There's this inspection cap or dust protector back here. This looks good. It's got good grease in it still, actually. So this one may have been serviced more recently. So I'm just going to brush off all these areas here because I don't want any dust between where things are mounted. And this is a good opportunity to do a little spring cleaning. Now, if you're going to be really thorough, you would brush all this stuff off, come back and paint it. But I don't care because I'll be in here again eventually. This is my vehicle, you know. Don't have to take any special procedures with it. And now these thread holes, you can see they're getting dirt in them and stuff. We're gonna have to do a good job cleaning that up. That way the new threads will go right in and not strip anything or attempt to not thread in like I had happen on the other side. Okay, so it's clean. Okay, so now that we've got it all WD-40'd up, I'm gonna take a napkin, clean that stuff out, because you don't want that in there with your bolts, or they're not gonna get a good clamping pressure, I would say. So we've got our paper towel. I'm just gonna clean out this inside portion best I can. The seal on the back side of this looks really good compared to the other side. Clean this outside portion. It's real shiny. Then I'm gonna make it into like a makeshift Q-tip, I guess you could call it. I want it to be pretty skinny so I can fish these threads out. And I'm gonna show you another trick here in a second. So, I like to twist these going in. I took my mask off, there's not a lot more dirt flying around now. And then I'm gonna twist them back out while I pull on it slightly. Because if you just try to yank it back out, it's gonna tear and leave a bunch of paper in your threads. You don't want that. So this is like redneck thread chasing, I guess you could call it. Okay. So getting some of that dirt out. Same thing on this fourth hole. All right. So something I discovered when I did the driver's side. Just so happens the brake caliper bolts are the same thread count to these spindle bolt holes for the hub. So I cleaned the threads on this, and I'm just gonna thread these in here, if I can, to clean these threads out before I get this hub ready to go in. Okay, so I'm running it down by hand. This one's going nice and smooth. That's what you wanna see. Okay, now we'll switch to whatever other hole, no certain order, and you can hear there's some grit in this one. Yeah, there's a bunch of WD-40 dirt bubbling out. You see on that dirt. We're gonna wipe this off, and we'll probably put it back in there again just because there was a bunch of junk coming out. So this is like the easy way to chase your threads with the stuff that you have on your vehicle. No special tools required here. Okay, I'm happy with that. Go down to the bottom hole. You're gonna run it all the way in so it pushes that fluid out like it just did on the other one. Okay. I'm gonna go back to this one because I didn't run this one all the way in, so I didn't see that it was pushing fluid out. If you have fluid in your bolt holes, I know for cylinder heads and stuff, it'll give you a false torque reading. So that's not something you really want. That one was pretty clean. Drop my bolt in the dirt. Wipe this dirt off before I put it back in there. We don't want any dirt in these threads. Take my wire brush. You'll learn the hard way if you try to put a bolt in a dirty hole, which I've done. Nobody likes dirty holes. All right, so those are clean. Hub's ready. I'm just about to slap this thing in here. We'll give her one last wipe down, just to clean up any additional residue that's around. Okay, so your new hub, it's in a bag to stay clean. See, it's nice and shiny, nice and quiet. Spins freely. The grease is what's holding it there so it doesn't spin like the old one does, okay? You just kind of mount it up in that hole. I'll flip the camera around and show you. Okay, so it's just sitting in there loosely, and you can try to start threading them in. See, I'm threading this in by hand. It's going nice and easy. This one, it's not quite lined up, and you don't want to cross thread it. So I'll try it, and if it doesn't want to go, I'll just wait. Starting to pull flush. One thing that I just noticed, does anybody see anything missing? The dust shield is sitting on the ground. So I'm gonna set the camera down, put the dust shield on, and then we'll restart this process. All right, so got the dust shield on this time. All these are hand tight. I'm just gonna come back through with a wrench, and you'll just tighten them all down. I want to say the torque specs is like 70, 75 foot-pounds, but it's kind of impossible with a wrench. So I'm just going to tighten down the best I can. I'm just doing this portion for demonstrational reasons. Okay, so now we've got them all started. I'm going to go through and tighten them all down tightest I can get them within reason. Okay. See, pulling, moving the whole vehicle, probably 70 foot-pounds. All right, so that's all tight. Now to finish the job, you're going to just repeat the process, but reversed, okay? So, it'd be nice if these things came with like a cap, like that. Okay, there's a little dust cap. Just gonna clean it up, put it on there. To get this old dust cap, went through the back of the hub, hit it with the literally junk $1 screwdriver, knocked it out. Okay, so now we'll put that cap right there. It's a little loose. So, all right, so the dust cap problem, I have a temporary solution. It was a little small to fit, so I took some Teflon tape, wrapped it around the inside, and then I put a little bit of RTV. That way it'll seal up eventually. Hopefully, I mean, I'll do some research and see if there's a better solution to this than what I just did, but I'm working with what I have. So Teflon tape to make it a little bigger. Hey, if it's good enough for plumbers, it's good enough for me. And then I use the RTV, sealed that up, and now we are officially ready to put it all back together. So let's locate our 2 bolts, okay, for the brakes. I'm gonna put a dab of blue Loctite. Okay, same thing with the other one. And then slide this. We're gonna have to slide the pads out of the caliper at this point to get it back on, probably once we get the rotor back on. So we'll grab the rotor and knock this dust off of it. Not like it matters, it picks up a lot of dust driving on the road anyway. Okay, line the holes up, slide it back on, and then that lug nut that we had is gonna come back into play. Just grab one that I can see. Run this lug nut down just to hold the rotor in place. Okay, rotor's there, back on. Now, let's undo our bungee, and let's see if we're lucky, we won't have to mess with these brake pads. Stop pinching my glove. And look at me, I guess I'm lucky today. Okay, I just gave it a love tap there to get the caliper bolt holes lined back up. Now, so caliper bolt is started. Now I'm going to start the top one. If it doesn't line up, just kind of move it around a hair. There it goes. Starting in. I'll get it started by hand. Get the power tool. Okay. Now, that is officially on. The only thing you have left to do is to reattach these brackets. See if I can do this with one hand. Sometimes you have to disassemble this portion to get it back on. I was lucky, didn't have to. Okay, so there that is, started. We'll take our little tool, stick it on there. Run it down till it's snug. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. Now we'll take this 10 bolt out of its little safe hole right here. Put this little bracket back on. Okay, and stick it back in that hole. Get that one started by hand. Now we'll switch the socket out on this tool to the 10 mil and run it down. Okay, last one, 12 up here. Camera's dirty. Okay, it started. This one, it's hard to get the tool in there because the brake line's in the way. Use a ratcheting wrench. This one. If anybody's thinking about buying ratcheting wrenches, do it. It's the best investment I ever made besides these power tools. I only used hand tools for years and bought power tools and realized how much time I was wasting. All right, now everything's snugged back up. This is no longer needed. And your last step is to put the wheel back on, go for a ride. So I will show the process of putting the wheel on. Not like anyone needs to see it that's watching this video. And I don't think these wheels are going to go back on without me jacking the vehicle up because they're tall. So I'll jack the car up. Gotta be safe doing this because it'll no longer be resting on the jack stands. So this is the method I like to use. Kind of sit under it. Pick it up using your legs and your arms at the same time. My long socket so I can get one of these started if I can. Your spark pack. And now we put the other side back on. That noise you're hearing is my brakes. That's okay. Spins good. And you are officially done. Give yourself the clap. And here's an after video. Didn't change anything, but got the new hubs. Torqued the lug nuts down. Now should be rolling quietly down the road. Oh, shut the jack in the door.